Welcome back to Gero Dynamics. Okay, so I am going to do one political video today. Not nearly as many, though. And this one is, again, as I said in my previous video, I'm not doing partisan politics right now. But what I do want to talk about is taxes again. And the focus of this video is basically the concept of paying your fair share versus what I would like to see and like what I approve of, your legal share. All right. And so oftentimes they get those two ideas conflated in the media and the talking heads, and of course our politicians talking about how we need to make sure everybody pays their fair share. Well, the problem is the fair share idea is very vague. They never have a exact definition of what fair share is. It isn't even like common sense of what fair share is, because when we look at percentages of income tax, we know that a large percentage, well more than what would you would classically qualify as fair, is the percentage of taxes being paid by the extremely wealthy, or the wealthy and the extremely wealthy. So, I would like to say that I don't think fair share is a valid argument. Legal share is what we're looking at and what we should be looking at. Legal share is basically saying, hey, I don't care how wealthy you are, I don't care how poor you are, I don't care where you are on the whole spectrum of incomes. You want to pay your legal share. You don't want to cheat on your taxes. You don't want to pay or not claim all your income, or claim credits you don't qualify for. We want our legal share to be equally enforced across the board. And if everybody's legal share is enforced and you still don't feel like their fair share is being paid, then it's not the individual's fault, it's the tax law's fault. And that's usually what we run into, is the tax law is written in a way that makes it really seem to some people that that people are not paying their fair share, especially the extremely wealthy. And the reason for that is because the tax law is written in a way that focuses on income tax. And then it also gives tons of loopholes to, especially to those who are extremely wealthy, to be able to go ahead and write off portions of their income so that they don't have to pay taxes on it. And then on top of that, capital gains, which, does make sense to me. It should be lower, but the capital gains rate is a lot less than the income tax rate. So you're paying taxes on your capital gains, but you're not paying them at the same rate that someone is paying taxes on their income tax. And so all of these things are written into the law. And when, the IRS goes and they do an investigation or an audit or whatever you want to call it of these wealthy taxpayers, more often than not, they find that they are complying with the law, that they are paying their legal share, and basically they have so much money that they can go out and they can hire accountants to make sure everything is on, is done according to these loopholes, according to the actual law as it is written. They push up against that line without crossing over it and committing tax fraud. Now, if they do commit tax fraud, they definitely should be punished, and they should have to repay what they owe, plus penalties and interest and that sort of thing. But if they are not committing tax fraud and they just happen to be able to push the line because they're able to hire lawyers and accountants and everything else to help them make sure they're doing everything exactly right, then it's not the individual's fault that they're taking advantage of the system as it's written. It's our politicians' fault for going in and writing them in a way that leaves open these loopholes. And there's a simple fix for this. It's simplifying the tax code, reducing or eliminating these loopholes in general or in full. Get rid of all of them. Just go with a flat tax, or you can even do a slightly progressive tax, but without there being all of these ways to write off your income, or you don't have the Schedule A itemized deductions, that allow you to get out of a lot of the amount that you owe. You don't have the way to write off business expenses in certain ways. You don't, they need to eliminate these type of loopholes if they really want people to start paying, quote unquote, a fair share in a legal way. And so if you simplify the tax code, you're more likely to see that everything evens out. And we did see that. We saw it when Donald Trump simplified the tax code. The Republicans in Congress, and Donald Trump signed it, simplified the tax code. We saw that a lot of the loopholes were eliminated, not all, and they could have done a lot more. And I actually was critical that they didn't do enough. But I also don't agree with those who say that it was only a tax cut for the wealthy. That's not what it was. It was a simplification of the tax code. It didn't cut just the wealthy people's taxes. But when you see, and this is where their argument of fair share goes out the window, what happens is when the wealthy are paying a huge percentage of income or a huge percentage of taxes in this country, and you have something that causes the tax code to be simplified, reducing everybody's tax rate, then you're going to see them get a larger reduction in the amount that they're paying because they were already paying so much more. So yes, I do see that as being, a tax cut in a way, but more it was a simplification of the tax code that resulted in tax rates being reduced, but it also resulted in there being less deductions and being phase outs of different credits and phase outs of other sorts of loopholes that are available. And so that's the direction we need to move in more. And if we do, we're going to see this concept of fairness really play out. And so the legal aspect, paying your legal share, is going to be more in line with paying your fair share. um, and what I'd also like to say is when you simplify the tax code, that doesn't mean that tax revenues go down. In fact, tax revenues went up. So if you look at the tax revenues in the year immediately following the tax, quote unquote, tax cuts, the simplifying the tax code that they did, they put out the new tax law, right? Some people call it tax cuts, but really it resulted in a tax revenue increase. And you can look at the facts to see that is supported by the facts. There wasn't a revenue decrease until 2020, I believe it was 2020 or 2021, where the economy being shut down due to the pandemic resulted in tax revenues finally going down. But prior to that, tax revenues continued to go up even after the tax law took effect. So tax cuts, you can call it tax cuts, but tax revenue went up, and that's really kind of where the truth is of that. That's the facts of that, right? So so that's what we want to see. We want to see more of a legal share coming in line with what we consider a fair share, and let everybody kind of like finally define what fair share is in a way that matches up with legal share. All right, everybody. If you have any questions, you have any comments, you have a disagreement, feel free to comment down below. I appreciate it every time, even if you disagree with me. Love you anyways. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a good day.